Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at, well, a really provocative statement. It comes from Michael Saylor, the CEO of MicroStrategy. He said, I went looking for gold and found something better, and then just hashtag Bitcoin.
Right. That really throws down the gauntlet to traditional ideas about value.
Exactly. It makes you stop and think, what could possibly be better than gold, especially now in this digital era?
Yeah.
So in this deep dive, that's our mission. We're going to unpack that statement, look at Saylor's thinking, what it implies, and the challenges it faces.
And it's key to remember who Saylor is here. He's not just some talking head. He's a major player in crypto.
Oh, definitely.
Widely known for getting MicroStrategy to make these huge multi-billion-dollar bets on Bitcoin. So his words carry weight. They reflect his company's actual strategy.
Right.
So what we'll do is draw from, an analysis of what he said and done, trying to give you a clear, balanced view on why someone like him would make such a bold claim.
And to really get the weight behind those words, you first have to see the scale of his conviction. It's not just talk, it's backed by billions. Since 2020, MicroStrategy has done something pretty unprecedented, right?
Yeah.
Making Bitcoin a core part of their treasury.
Absolutely. We're talking, what is it now? Over 226,000 Bitcoins.
Wow.
Valued in the billions. That makes them one of the biggest corporate holders anywhere globally.
So it's more than just an endorsement. It's like a fundamental shift in how a public company handles its money.
That pivot is precisely why he's seen as such a thought leader in this space. When he talks, people listen.
Yeah.
And that phrase, I went looking for gold and found something better, it works like this powerful metaphor.
Okay.
He's directly contrasting gold, the historical safe haven, scarce asset, with Bitcoin, which he clearly sees as like a superior digital property for today.
Digital property. Interesting.
Yeah, he constantly talks up Bitcoin's decentralization, how easy it is to move around, its potential for long-term value growth. And it's worth saying, while you might not find that exact quote word for word in his, say, recent expos around August 9th, 2025,
Right.
it absolutely nails the consistent story he's been telling very publicly.
Okay, so we see the scale of the investment. The next thing is really digging into why. Why does he think Bitcoin can actually knock gold off its pedestal? I mean, gold's been the go-to safe haven for centuries. Stable, holds value when things get shaky. Bitcoin gets called digital gold, sure,
Right.
because of its fixed supply. Only 21 million coins ever, and that inflation resistance compared to regular money. But what are the key differences Saylor really focuses on?
That's where his argument gets pretty specific. Gold is physical, yes, and finite, but the supply can still increase. New gold mines, better tech. Bitcoin, though, its supply is literally baked into the code, programmatically fixed. You have those predictable halving events every 4 years, slowing down new supply. It's a totally different kind of monetary policy.
Right, the halvings.
And then there's portability. Just try moving, say, $1 billion of actual gold across borders today. Security, insurance, logistics. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Compare that to Bitcoin. Purely digital. You can send it anywhere almost instantly. Saylor argues that makes it vastly more efficient for holding and moving wealth in our global digital world.
Those are strong points on the practical side. But isn't gold's actual physicality, its long history, that universal recognition, isn't that what gives it that deep trust?
Yeah, that's a fair challenge.
It makes it kind of immune to things like cyber attacks or, government meddling. In a way, digital things aren't. How does his digital is better idea square with those concerns about security and just established trust?
That's a really critical point, and Saylor often counters by talking about different kinds of risk. So, yes, gold has historical trust, but it can still be confiscated by governments, right? It's hard to verify its purity easily, and it costs a lot to store securely.
Sure.
Saylor sees Bitcoin's decentralization, the fact there's no single entity in control, no single point of failure. He sees that as a better kind of security against interference from third parties.
Interesting. So decentralization as security.
Exactly. He'd argue that while Bitcoin has its own security issues to think about, its transparent, unchangeable ledger and its resistance to censorship offer a totally new way of thinking about property rights for the digital age. A quality he thinks gold, under potential government control or surveillance, doesn't really have.
Okay. And then there's the elephant in the room, volatility. Bitcoin's price swings are, well, legendary or infamous.
Ah, yeah, definitely infamous sometimes.
Gold tends to be much, much more stable historically. How does Saylor fit that volatility into his vision of Bitcoin as a superior store of value?
Well, Saylor tends to frame Bitcoin's volatility as sort of growing pains, a feature of a new asset class that's still being adopted really quickly.
So temporary.
He often presents it that way, yeah. And he sees the dips as buying opportunities. He contrasts this with what he sees as gold maybe becoming less relevant, potentially underperforming long-term, especially when central banks are printing so much fiat currency.
Right.
So for him, Bitcoin's potential for long-term appreciation, driven by that fixed supply and the growing network, simply outweighs the short-term price swings, especially for a long-term treasury strategy.
And the effect of Saylor saying all this,
Yeah.
it goes way beyond just MicroStrategy, right? He's become a huge influencer.
Oh, absolutely. Not just in the crypto world, but increasingly he's getting attention from institutional investors, other corporate treasurers.
Yeah, you see it online on platforms like X, where crypto Twitter lives. A phrase like, I went looking for gold and found something better. It just explodes.
Totally. It sparks massive debates, tons of memes, and it really fuels that, pro-Bitcoin enthusiasm.
You see people calling him a legend, sharing his message. It definitely helps build that bullish narrative, maybe not single-handedly moving markets, but it shapes the mood.
And the timing often feels deliberate, too. He keeps advocating, even as Bitcoin has recovered significantly from, say, the 2022 lows, with prices in 2025 bouncing around, $60,000 to $70,000?
Right.
You could see that timing as a calculated push to cement Bitcoin's image as a maturing, resilient asset compared to gold, aiming to pull in more mainstream adoption, both institutional and retail. So let's try and synthesize this a bit. Michael Saylor's statement, I went looking for gold and found something better, it's really more than just a catchy line.
Yeah, it feels like his core philosophy.
Exactly. It captures his whole vision of Bitcoin as this revolutionary asset that could genuinely surpass gold in usefulness, value, relevance for the economy today.
And his position leading MicroStrategy, with that massive Bitcoin holding over 226,000 BTC, built up since 2020, worth billions, it gives his words undeniable weight.
Huge credibility, especially within the crypto community. And again, while that specific quote might be hard to pin down to one recent post, say around August 9th, 2025, it perfectly sums up the narrative he consistently pushes. But, we have to be nuanced. The comparison isn't simple. Bitcoin and gold, they both have their own strengths, their own weaknesses.
For sure.
And Bitcoin still faces major hurdles we've touched on. That volatility, the ongoing regulatory questions, competition from other digital assets, and just bridging that gap to become truly accepted by the mainstream public.
So, bringing it back to you, the listener, what does all this really mean looking forward? Well, figures like Saylor clearly have a massive impact, shaping the story around digital assets like Bitcoin, building confidence.
Potentially drawing in more money, both big institutions and everyday investors.
Right. It really makes you pause and consider, doesn't it? Where does the future of storing wealth lie? Is it still primarily in the physical things we've always trusted? Or is it shifting more and more towards the digital realm?
That's the big question.
Especially when you factor in things like financial literacy improving, the markets evolving, more institutions getting involved. These trends are going to keep playing out over the next months and years. Definitely something to keep thinking about as this whole landscape of value continues to change.